Oh boy, this is gonna be a rough one. People who wish the best for America and people who don't. Welcome, I am Jared Strong, and today we'll be watching Trump's interview in the Oval Office. I heard it is a little spicy. We shall see.
This is an ABC News special from inside the White House.
When you stepped back in the Oval Office after you were reelected,
right?
What went through your mind? Triumphant when you walked back?
Yeah, there's a feeling of triumph.
President Donald J. Trump on his 100th day in office from the Terry Moran.
Earlier today, I sat down with President Trump in the Oval Office for an exclusive interview on his 100th day of his second term. It was a great opportunity to ask him some wide-ranging questions about the issues that most concern so many Americans. We talked about the economy and his tariffs. We talked about immigration and those deportations. And you can see here the White House has put up some posters that they say show some of the violent criminals that have so far been deported. We talked about a lot more as well. The president's answers were provocative, at times combative, and always he was strong in his convictions about his policies. But before we get to the interview, we begin tonight with a look inside the Oval Office that Donald Trump has transformed.
Alrighty.
Hello, everybody. How are you? This
There's
is
the
the
big man
Oval
himself.
Office. This is the Resolute desk, which is really something very spectacular. There's nothing quite like it.
The greatest,
We
Stephen.
give you a choice of about 7 different desks, but this is the one I chose. Ronald Reagan had it.
7?
FDR had it. A few people had
There's
it,
multiple
but I found it to be the
desks?
most beautiful.
It is amazing.
This is an amazing space, and amazing, maybe architecturally wonderful, but amazing for what it represents. It represents the U.S., and if properly used, a lot of good things can happen.
The
See Ronald Reagan
desk.
over there.
Yeah, Ronald Reagan.
Right to your left.
Being in the Oval Office is very important. See Ronald Reagan here. And,
Two
put him
men
a
shot
little bit larger. Sort
together.
of seemed to fit very nicely. You have Democrats a little bit. You have
Franklin Roosevelt.
Franklin Roosevelt. So you look at that picture and people say, well, what's he doing up there? But look, he was a serious president, whether we like it or not. He was a 4-termer and went through a war. You have Lincoln, you have Washington, but you look over here, that's Monroe, the Monroe Doctrine.
Why is he up there?
I think the Monroe Doctrine was pretty important. You know, that was his claim to fame. Over here you have the original of Abraham Lincoln and George Washington, and of course you have the Declaration of Independence.
What does it mean to you?
Well, it means exactly what it says. It's a declaration. It's a declaration of unity and love and respect, and it means a lot, and it's something very special to our country.
Lincoln's portrait up there. I'm not familiar with that one, but I think when I'm looking at that famous line in the second inaugural, with malice toward none, with
Right,
charity toward
right.
all.
This is something I appreciate, the respect being given and due to the system that has brought such peace and prosperity to the world, and not shying away from it, but just giving respect to that. It's something greatly distressing to me, seeing so many people vilify the force that has caused such a golden age of peace in the world. All for selfish, weird desires.
Well, he
Why,
was...
even people tearing down statues of different people from the past. They even tore down. I believe they also tore down an Abraham Lincoln statue at one point, or at least desecrated it. Just these whack jobs. There's nothing sacred to them.
a great president. He went through a lot.
And the Oval Office is always changing between presidents.
And he's a tyrant.
Changes.
And Abraham Lincoln was a tyrant. He suspended habeas corpus. He was effectively a dictator for a while. But there's some things you just have to do to accomplish, to maintain order, especially in a chaotic era.
Says something?
It does.
What does this say about how you feel about the country and the office?
Well, I think it says I love the country. I mean, I'm putting pictures of presidents up that have never been up, pictures that weren't
They were never
largely
up?
used. And in many
What?
cases, great men, in this case men, but great men of great achievement.
And your every detail, it seems.
Yeah.
This is your office.
I'm a very detailed person. I'm a very clean person. I like cleanliness. I like to see the space be treated properly. I've added a lot to the space in terms of beautification, in terms of modernization. That's a
Gallery of presidents.
It really is. It really is. So,
prettiest
and it's an
Oval
honor to have you
Office
people with
you've
us.
ever seen.
Mr. President, thank you for doing this.
There's
Thank you
never
very much.
been
Here in the Oval
anyone
Office.
greater.
It's special. 100 days into your second.
Oh, my VTuber model. Look at that. Look at my VTuber model. Let me It's like, it's almost as if I'm the one giving the interview. Oh, wow. Thank you, Donald Trump, for joining me here, or allowing me into the Oval Office. This is a wonderful place. Really cool shades you got. You picked it out, of course. Greatest, prettiest. First question: Will you consider Nuxanor's aliens versus predator proposition?
Term. So, what's the one thing, just one thing, that you think is the most significant thing you've done so far in these 100 days?
Well, I think maybe the border is the most significant because our country was really going bad. They were allowing people to come in from prisons, as you know, and you've heard me say it, but you've heard a lot of people say it. Prisons, mental institutions, gang members, murderers. We had many murderers, 11,888, they think. Some murdered more than one person. So you had murderers coming in, you had everybody coming in, and not just South America, from all over the world. They were emptying their prisons
And it's
into
just
our
to be
country.
expected.
And now it's totally closed down.
When you
Seeing
have
just
such an open border situation, it's just guaranteed other countries, they're going to dump their prisons, because it's like, well, they don't care about who comes and goes in their country. We can just dispose of our worst criminals and then block off our borders. That's how tons of countries throughout the world acted. And every time one of these nutjob murdering psychopaths, gang members from other countries, the worst of the worst criminals from some other country, gets arrested in America, the media is just sitting around going like, oh, Maryland man. Oh, he's a poor a father, a loving individual. He did nothing wrong. He only was joining, wearing the clothes, the tattoos, and assisting murdering, raping psychopaths. He's just a Maryland father. There's nothing wrong with him.
Yesterday, they announced 99.9%. Nobody thought that could happen. And it happened quickly, very quickly. And I think that's very significant. But
Amazing.
We're doing other things that are very significant. The results will take a little bit longer because it's one of those, it's complicated. It's many years of trading abuse. We've been abused by other countries for years and years. They laughed at us. They thought we were stupid people, and we're fixing it. And I think that's going to be very, very important. But I have a lot of ground to cover. Yeah, I would really say that the border.
No one's been treated more harshly.
Is so important. Just
And we'll get there. Immigration, huge.
Yeah.
We're gonna get there. But I want to start with the economy, the number one issue for so many people, for just about everybody. It's one of the main reasons that you're back in this office. And now we have this trade war with China that Moody's and other analysts say is going to cost American families thousands of more dollars per year. And there is a lot of concern out there. People are worried, even some people who voted for you saying, I didn't sign up for this. So how do you answer those concerns?
Well, they did sign up for it, actually, and this is what I campaigned on. I said that we've been...
It is so weird seeing the media try and gaslight America into thinking that the voters didn't vote for this, when this is every single one of his rallies, which he had hundreds of them constantly during, the running up to the election. These people will deny reality and say, oh, we didn't vote for this. We didn't vote for this. And it's like, well, you didn't vote for this because you voted for Kamala. But everyone who voted for Trump voted for this, which I didn't vote for anyone. As I said at the start of the creation of this channel, I am a centrist position. I have no need for allegiances. But people voted for what Trump is doing. You're not going to be able to gaslight people into thinking they didn't vote for this, because he campaigned on it at every speech he gave. Every single one of them, not a single one. I didn't leave it out. You know, Trump repeats himself all the time. He's a walking bingo sheet, you know. But and then they act like the problem is, like, a lot of people didn't. All these people who voted against Trump, they didn't watch any of his speeches, so they didn't know what he was running on. All they knew of Trump was that he is what the media said about Trump, and not what Trump actually said and what Trump is actually doing. And so now, of course, they're blindsided by what Trump's doing. Of course they are, because they never paid attention to any of his speeches anyways. They're in the dark.
Abused by other countries at levels that nobody's ever seen before. We were losing $3 to $5 billion a day on trade. We were losing $1.5 trillion to $2 trillion a year. Not sustainable. They were taking advantage of us like they've never. I could have left it that way, and at some point there would have been an implosion like nobody's ever seen. But I said, no, we have to fix it. I've wanted to do this for many years. You know, I had the best economy during my first term. We had a tremendous economy, tremendous success, and we did tremendous numbers of tariffs on. We took in a lot of money from tariffs, China in particular, hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs. We had no inflation, as you know. We had an incredible economy. We're given credit for a great economy. But I said, we have to fix this, otherwise it's just not self-sustaining.
Well, one of the things you ran on was you said you'd bring prices down on day one, and that it would happen fast, and it has. Most economists will tell you that tariffs will raise prices. So don't your tariffs cut against that promise you made to bring prices down?
No, because I had massive tariffs on China, if you remember, in my first term, and we had essentially no inflation, like around.
Yeah, all these people, they go tariffs this, tariffs that. They're so bad, and it's like, if they're so bad, why is every country throughout the world, why does almost every single one of them have had tariffs on America, and even really high tariffs on America for all of American history, basically? If they're so bad, why is it only bad for America to tariff everybody else? It's like, why is it okay for them to tariff us, but we can't tariff them back? Sure, it'd be great if there was no tariffs, but that's the thing. That's the point of the tariffs. One of the points is to equalize trade and punish the other countries that are trying to take advantage of us. It's a method of using our economic leverage and strength to very ruthlessly force other countries to stop shoving their hand in the cookie jar. Late at night, America has to get up and whoop the child back in order.
Around 1% inflation, which is like a perfect number.
But the egg prices are down, gas prices are down. So many prices are down in terms of like everyday goods for the people that have been suffering the most. The Democrats don't seem to care about the actual poor. They're sure the stock market's been chaotic, sure, but stock market's not going to feed me. That only affects the 1% of the 1%. The 1% and the 1% of the 1%. Those guys, sure, they're taking a hit, but everybody else has been taking a hit for a very long time. And finally, there's somebody taking actions that prioritize the poor and the middle class over the rich. We'll be fine. Sure, it's not going to feel good to them. They'll be fine.
And then when Biden took over, it went through the roof. It went to probably the worst inflation we've ever had. I mean, we had an inflation nightmare. Now, if you look at what's happening now, we're only there for 100 days, as you say. And in 100 days, we took over. We had bad inflation for 4 years, especially 2 years of his administration. I would say record-setting like we've never seen. They say 48 years, the worst in 48 years. I say it was much worse than that.
Yeah.
Right. So now if you look at what's happened, energy is down. Gasoline hit $1.98 in a few states during the last couple of days. It was $3.50 and $4 and $4.50. But gasoline is way down. When I took over, you remember the big thing with eggs.
When the price of energy is down, the price of almost everything else goes down as well, because almost everything will require energy to, run or to ship. Your stores, all these products and whatnot are being shipped around, and it costs gasoline. So if energy costs are lower, it will inherently cheapen the price of everything else in turn. It's not a perfect solution, but it is one of many things that can help the economy, is keeping gas prices down. That's one of the big things in Trump's first term, is the energy costs were the lowest they'd ever been for a long time. And that really helped out a lot in terms of just everyday people and companies and the supply chain and whatnot. And the first thing Biden did when he got into office, drove the price of energy and gas through the roof.
The first week, eggs, like it was my fault.
One
I
of the
said,
first
I
things
didn't
he
cause this
signed
problem. This problem was caused by
that-
Biden. What's the problem with eggs? And they said they've doubled. Well, eggs are down 87% since I got involved.
And the thing with the price of eggs is that's a Biden problem, and it's so ridiculous that people are blaming Trump for this artificial issue where there was this bird flu spook scare, and where hundreds of thousands of chickens were culled. They're killed because of a potential bird flu that might not have actually existed. And so with less birds laying eggs, there were less eggs. And so supply was lower, demand was still high, and so the cost went up. And it's going to fix itself. It's a problem that would have fixed itself anyways. It was an artificially created issue, and they wouldn't stop harping on it. And now that eggs are back to normal, because it's a problem that was inherently going to fix itself once populations get back to normal, then prices are down. And now the media, they never ask those questions anymore. They wouldn't shut up about it. For weeks they're hounding the president like, the price of eggs, you said you're going to help the people, the price of eggs. And now that the price of eggs are down so drastically, the media, they shut up about it. Now they shut up about it, but they won't even acknowledge. They're like, bro, the eggs.
A lot of that is
And
bird
by the way,
flu,
and there were
right?
plenty of eggs for Easter, which we just went through. There were plenty of eggs for Easter. They were saying you won't have enough eggs for Easter. My secretary did a fantastic job on eggs. Groceries are down. Everything's down.
Okay.
Interest rates are the same. Interest rates should be down, but we have a Federal Reserve that wants to be stubborn. They want to be
All
cute.
right, we'll get to that. You said something a couple weeks ago that struck me. You said concerning the tariffs, which economists say are going to raise prices. You said, quote, hang tough. Yeah. It won't be easy. You said that to the American people. Is that what Americans should expect, some hard times?
I've said that during my campaign. Look, we won a campaign by a
He
lot.
said
We won
there
all
would be a
7
little-
swing
a
states.
little
We won the
pain.
popular vote by a lot. You know,
That was
we
the
had a
phrase he
tremendous
used.
campaign. I said all of these things during my campaign.
Yeah.
I said, you're going to have a transition period. We've
Yeah.
been ripped off by every country all over the world. They're laughing at us. They
The
thought we were
problem is
stupid.
when you get cancer and you're gonna die. When you get cancer and you're suffering, you're in a hospital bed and you don't know if you're gonna wake up tomorrow. Then there's medicine that the doctors have that has a chance of helping you from not, whatever tomorrow may bring. You take it, but the doctor says, "Oh, it's not going to be pleasant. It's going to have side effects. It might even make you even more sick for a while. It's going to have problems." Do you sit there in bed like, tomorrow I might not wake up? some within the next year, I might not wake up. Are you gonna ignore the medicine? There's this weird situation. There's a situation I had with scabies, and scabies are these parasites, these little mites. They dig into your skin and are real itchy and all kinds of stuff. And to get rid of them, they have this cream. You rub it all over your whole body, except from your neck up. You ignore the head, because most scabies don't go on the head. I got this because complicated situation. Went to Africa, and I took this medicine. You apply it, and then what it does is it's an anti-parasitic cream. It kills all the stuff on your body. And then you take it again 2 weeks later, or a week later. You take it again a week later, and by rubbing it on all your body to make sure you doubly kill it all. The problem with this cream is it will make the rash caused by the scabies to inflame and be ridiculously itchy. It's already a super itchy problem. It's already painful, and that cream will make it flare up and spread, and it's awful. But it's a necessary evil to kill what is causing the rash. If you just if you decide not to take it because you don't want to feel a little pain, a little suffering, and you're like, oh, I'll just endure the what is effectively a permanent suffering over a temporary suffering. And that's the situation we're in with the American economy and international trade. Is we might have to suffer a little bit to get things back in order. It's just the way it is. This is the real world. We don't live in fairy tale land with unicorns and rainbows and everything's going to work out perfect. We have to. Sometimes things just don't work out well.
Stupid people, and we were. And I said, that's not going to happen. We're not
But
going to let that happen.
hard times are ahead?
I don't think so. I think great times are ahead. Look, since I came in, gasoline is down, groceries are down, egg prices are down, many things are down, just about everything. You know,
Yep.
You don't have the drop in fuel and energy and
Yep.
oil like we did. I took it from maybe $3.20, maybe more than that, down into a much lower number. When you have that kind of a drop, you're not going to have inflation.
Not now, but it's the tariffs, right? We still have 145% tariffs on China.
why is it
Your
that-
Treasury Secretary said we basically have an embargo on China.
Look, you're
And
trying
that-
to say something's going to happen,
No,
Terry.
okay, well,
Nothing's going to happen.
You know business. I
Terry,
want to ask you.
Terry, I do know business.
Yes,
and
so 145% tariffs on China,
Yeah.
and that is
That's good.
basically
That's
an
good.
embargo.
They deserve it.
It'll raise prices on
They
everything
deserve
from
it.
electronics to
That's good.
clothing to building houses.
You don't know that. You don't know whether...
The thing with it's silly to think that so when we put tariffs on China, China's not the only one making products. We have American services making products and whatnot. And so when we tariff these other countries, a lot of those, the production will start to go back to being done in America. And this is the point. The primary goal of the tariffs is to reinvigorate that in the industry in America that has long since been dead. There used to be factories everywhere. There was one near me in my little town. It's been shut down sometime around the time I was born. No jobs anywhere. When the people can't get any good jobs anywhere, they don't have money to buy anything. Who cares if we can't get stuff from China? Like, who cares if we can't get anything from China if you can't buy it because nobody has jobs to earn money to pay for anything? America is the largest consumer country in the world. We have, in terms of the consumption, the buying, and all that, we're the largest. But if if we don't have a large middle class people with jobs, then we won't be the largest consumer. It just won't be. It won't.
Or not China's going
That's
to eat
mathematics.
it. China probably will eat those tariffs, but at 145, they basically can't do much business with the United States. And they were making from us $1 trillion a year. They were ripping us off like nobody's ever ripped us off. And by the way, we have other countries that were just as bad.
And
if you look at the
stealing
European
our
Union, it was
intellectual
terrible what
property
they've done
rights
to us.
at
Every country,
turn.
almost every country in the world was ripping us off.
And the thing with China is they never played fair. Like, we play fair, and they don't play fair. And so who's going to win? Who's going to suffer in the end? The people who abide by the rules that have been established, America has been for so long, or the people who know all the rules and break all of them and do everything they can to get a leg up because they can take advantage of us because they know we will follow such and such a rule or principle or whatnot, and they don't have to. Human rights, slavery, these things don't matter anything to the Chinese government.
They're not doing that anymore.
I want you to think about the boom that this country has had in small businesses, mom and pop Etsy stores, small businesses that
Really?
became
They
big
haven't had a
businesses.
boom because of inflation.
Well,
the
no,
boom,
what
the
they've
boom
done-
was inflationary boom. The people were wiped out with inflation. I
Yes.
mean, you read the news, you
Yes.
do the business
now
stuff, I
they
assume.
face, now a lot of them built those businesses on the trading model.
Yeah, and they're gonna
before
make
you.
more money
They
now.
sourced their products overseas, and now they're looking at an
And you can
extinction
source
event.
those-
Here.
They're a disaster for them.
I've been here for 3 months.
Now you can source those in America and give Americans jobs, and then Americans will have more money to spend on things.
I've taken a trade deficit.
That is the model that America used to become this powerful, rich country. And we're shifting away from this model to this free world trades thing. The world
deficit down to a number that's very, very starting to get really good. I just got here. We had a country that it was not sustainable. What Biden did to this country between the open borders where criminals poured into our country, between every
sleepy Joe Biden
country in the world ripping us off on trade, it was not sustainable.
So your message to those small businesses who are saying, we can't live a month, 2 months with these tariffs. Apple got a big deal. Is there something for them?
No, not only Apple. We've got $7 to $8 trillion being invested in our country in 2 months. Biden didn't have that over a year. I mean, if you look at Biden, nobody was really investing in this country. Everybody was ripping off our country. Apple's putting up $500 billion, but that's only one of many companies. Yep. Companies are flooding into our country right now.
So you're
and with this influx of companies having their bases in America, they'll be employing Americans in America. And when you don't have, it's such a simple issue that it's the elite, the rich 1%, the AOCs of this world, the Bernie Sanders oligarchs and billionaires. It's those people that don't understand the plight of the poor. They're too. They're like, fight the oligarchy, the oligarchy and whatnot. Bernie Sanders is just another pawn of the oligarchs. He is the oligarchy. Mark my words, AOC and Bernie Sanders are the oligarchy. It's as simple as that, really. But these they can't comprehend the plight of the poor.
Your answer to the concern about the tariffs is everything's going to be hunky-dory.
Everything's going to be just fine. It wouldn't have been if I didn't do this. I had a choice. I could leave it, have a nice, easy time, but I think ultimately you would have had an implosion. our country
Yes.
had inflation that was worse than they've ever had it before. You don't mention that. Why don't you mention that? We had the worst inflation probably in the history of our country. People say 48 years. Probably in the history of our country, we had the worst inflation. And people were dying over the inflation. You know that. Now the grocery prices are coming down. The energy prices are coming down.
People
Gasoline's coming
couldn't
down.
afford to live.
It's all heading in the right direction.
Okay, let's move on to immigration.
Coming up,
It is an undeniable decline, but there are
the first
immigration, and as you said, it is an undeniable fact
Moving
that
on to
illegal
immigration.
crossings at the southern border have plummeted, a staggering decline. But there are questions about your methods, and so I want to ask
About my message?
methods, about your
They're
methods,
great.
how you're
Well, they
accomplishing
seem to
this.
work.
They're effective.
Do you acknowledge
And they're legal.
that under our law, every single person who gets
No.
deported gets a hearing
No.
first to make their case?
Well, are we talking?
It's insane. That is insane. You are talking about an astronomical amount of time, resources, and money that will burden the system to such a ridiculous degree. Obama, he was called the deporter-in-chief. That was his nickname. And for every president has always deported a lot of people. All these illegal immigrants, you come into the country incorrectly, you're kicked out. You don't respect our laws, you enter the country, you don't follow the system and whatnot, you get kicked out. It's just that simple. And but guess what? These people didn't get hearings. They didn't get trials to determine, because you don't need a trial to determine any of this. Why? Because if you're in the country illegally, so somebody gets arrested for whatever reason, and what is the due process for somebody? First, you check their name, their identification, compare it to the databases, and determine, oh, this person is not here legally. They don't have any registration. They don't have any documentation. They don't have anything. They didn't come across the border correctly. They're just here when they're not supposed to be. The due process has now already been done. That was the due process, discovering, oh, they're not in the country correctly. So what is the next step? They get kicked out. It's that simple. The only people that get hearings and trials, as far as I'm aware, are the asylum seekers and different ones. And you don't get to say you don't get to come to this country, live here illegally for years, never seeking asylum, and then suddenly when you get arrested for crimes and different stuff, and then you're just like, oh, I was seeking asylum, I seek asylum now. It's like,
Talking about people that are citizens of our country or not?
No, you're not deporting citizens at this point.
Well, let me ask you, did they get hearings when Biden allowed 21 million, because I think the number's 20 million people to flow into our country? You had 21 million people.
Yeah, no
that
vetting.
came into our country through a stupid open
None.
border. And they were prisoners, and they were people that you don't want in many cases in our country, right? They came from all over the world. They came from the Congo. They came from South. They came from all over the world. We're talking about some of the roughest countries in the world. They had here, including terrorists, by the way. Now,
But the
did
law-
we give them a hearing when they came in?
Well, the law requires
Nope.
that every single person who is going to be
No.
deported gets a hearing
No, they
first.
don't.
Do you acknowledge that?
I'll have to
No, they
ask
don't.
the lawyers about that. All I can say is this.
No, it doesn't.
If you're going to have 21 million people, and if we have to get a lot of them out because they're criminals, we're going to have to act fast. We can't. Do you think we can give 21 million trials? Let's
No.
say each trial takes 2 weeks. Is that what you want us to
The
do?
law
Give
is the
21
law,
million?
sir. The law is the
No,
law.
it's
Yours is
not.
the law.
That's not the law. You're just. The thing is, this guy, he does not care about the law. These news people, they don't care about the law. They've never cared about the law because they're defending these justices, these judges that are giving orders to stop Trump's actions, and they aren't citing any laws when they say, Trump, turn this plane around. bring the person back right now. I order you. I decree it. And then it's like, that was an illegal order. There's no basis, there's no law, there's no nothing that they are calling upon. They don't. A lot of these judges that are putting injunctions on Trump right now, he has the most injunctions of any president ever. And just in this second term already, where these judges are acting like kings. They're claiming to have power superior to the president. These unelected officials that just are ordaining things to be so. And every time Trump goes against these orders and these judges and whatnot, because these judges are overstepping their authority. They're not citing any laws. They're just like decreeing things. Just making stuff up and saying, do this because I say so. And then the media says that that he's defying the courts. It's a constitutional crisis. It's like, of course he's defying the courts. They're breaking the law. Like, if the courts start ordaining that we must kill people because of whatever reason, then you don't just start following that because the courts say that. That's ridiculous. And so it's rules for thee and not for me. And that's his situation here, where it's like, the law is the law, unless it doesn't benefit this man, unless it doesn't benefit the narrative.
Doesn't say anything about trials.
No, not trials, hearings. I said
These
hearings.
people came in, they're not citizens. They came in illegally. They came into our country illegally.
And you don't need it.
There's
There's no reason to hold a hearing. You already have all the information you know. If somebody is in custody, if there's a person in police custody that we know is illegal because, well, there's no documentation, there's nothing, we've checked all the databases, this person is not here legally, there's no documentation, there's nothing. That's the hearing. It's already done. That you don't need to go through some extra hoop, wasting. It's such an inefficient way of doing things.
Legal process for
I can't, sure, and we follow the legal process. I can't have a trial, a major trial for every person that came in illegally. We have thousands of murderers that came in. They're going to murder people. They already have murdered people in our country.
Right, so
we have to get them out.
They're
And we have
bad
to get
guys,
them out fast.
really bad guys. But in our country, even bad guys get due process, right?
If people come into our
They're
country
not our
illegally,
citizens. Like, they're not our citizens. They're not our people. We don't give due process to every person in the world. This is America for Americans, for the people living here. And if you enter the country incorrectly, like, our system we cannot afford, we literally can't afford to do that, to just subsidize the world. And it's not possible. This idea is ridiculous.
Standard. These are illegal. They came in illegally.
But they get due process.
No, they don't.
Get a process where we have to get them out. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about
There is a due process. It's just, so they do get due process. It's just the due process that they get is not not some super complicated process that this guy wants it to be. He wants it to be this bureaucratic nonsense.
Venezuelans.
They get whatever my lawyers say.
Right. All right, let's talk about the Venezuelans. You deported more than 200 Venezuelans to that prison in El Salvador. You say they're violent, they're gang members, they're terrorists. Many of them don't have a criminal record at all.
Well,
but
they don't have a criminal record because they're not citizens. You know, they're not a part of our system. They don't have any. A lot of these people, like, there's no criminal record because the system's not built for them. It's ridiculous because, like, if there's a guy going around murdering people throughout in other countries and whatnot, and they sneak into our country and they're doing different stuff, and it's like, sure, they don't have an American criminal record. Does that mean we should just let them free? We can trust them to just do whatever, to just exist? It's silly. It's silly.
I'm not so sure about that. If you take a look,
I want to read you something.
Excuse me. When you look at those people, They were violent people. They were violent people.
But many of them don't have a criminal record
Go
at this
ahead.
point.
I don't-
I wonder
that's
what you say. Oh, it's based on their lawyer, what their lawyers have said. Okay. Joe Rogan said this. Joe Rogan,
It makes me so mad to see these people fighting tooth and nail for criminals, foreign criminals that are in our country, that are breaking our laws, that they're fighting tooth and nail to give them everything of our country that they don't deserve. And the people at J6, most of them did not receive proper due process fair trials. A lot of them were put in prison for absurd reasons. Like, there's a whole massive portion of them that were put in prison for, after the event was over, somebody, or like a person, went to the site because it's public property, visiting it because it's public property, and not knowing anything about the event that occurred, and then they get arrested because they're just swept up in this whole thing and put in prison for just stepping foot on the grass of the area. It's like no due process, no fair trials, and it's just like it's silly. And these people, they won't defend them. They want to defend the Americans. But they'll defend the gang members from these other countries. You don't want America to be like those other countries, like what El Salvador used to be, like Venezuela, like Mexico. It's terrifying. They openly kill politicians in those countries. The gangs rule those countries. MS-13, Trinidad, these different gangs, they rule those countries. And you step out of line, you say one thing against them on social media, you're found dead the next day. And they're proud, and they don't hide it, and the government can't do anything about it because they have so much power. And with these open borders and all this stuff, we're headed down that route. We're going to eventually be run by the gangs. And it's just like, we have to cut it out. There's so many cancers growing in America that we have to cut out, and it's not going to be pleasant. It's not going to be pleasant. But it's a necessary evil.
One of the leading podcasters, Trump supporter, about the deportation of Venezuelans. He said, quote, rounding up gang members and shipping them to El Salvador with no due process, he said, was dangerous, and added, quote, we got to be careful that we don't become monsters while we're fighting monsters. Is Joe Rogan right?
Oh, I agree with that 100%. Yeah, we want to be careful, and we are careful. We're doing something that has to be done.
The people
we have
fighting
a country
Trump
that's very
are
sick.
already the monsters.
Joe Biden, and it's not him because I don't even think he knew what the hell was
incapable of
happening. But the
empathy.
people,
They have suicidal empathy and empathy for the worst possible criminals, and the most innocent, good people they have zero empathy for and wish the most ill upon them. These people are psychotic.
people around him are
They're
vicious
already monsters.
people. And what they've done to the country is unbelievable. They've allowed 21 million people to pour into our country. Many of these people are criminals. They've allowed you mentioned Venezuela, the jails of Venezuela to be emptied into the United States. Do you know Venezuela crime is way down? Way, way down. You know why? Because their criminals are now living happily in the United States of America, and we're getting them out. And I was elected to get them out, and we're getting them out.
Under the law.
And we're getting them out fast, and we're getting them out legally. Now, in some cases, we have judges. In some cases, they're radical left judges. What happened the other day where a judge was protecting a criminal was horrible.
That was ridiculous. What he's talking about is there was a criminal that had like physically harmed somebody. I forget the exact details of what they had done, but they were an illegal immigrant that had violently harmed somebody, as far as I'm aware, allegedly. And then the judge overseeing the court case regarding this crime essentially tried to get the illegal immigrant doing everything they can to like push him out the side door and all this stuff and smashing evidence, and it's just like insane. Just turning into a third world country live. It's crazy. Like this is stuff that happens in third world countries, bro.
He's got big problems, frankly. And there are a couple of them like that.
I want to talk about one
Wait a
man.
minute.
Yep.
We have to be treated fairly by judges, and we're not being treated fairly by all.
Judges are not kings that can just do whatever they want. They serve the people. They have a role to play to serve the people. They are not kings that can decree whatever the heck they want. And right now, there's a lot of judges that are abusing their power and acting as they're acting as rulers. And
judges.
We can't have this. We cannot allow this to happen.
Oh, that's a subject. So you're saying that you don't like some of the rulings, some of the.
Of course, if somebody makes a ruling that is illegal because it breaks our laws, like if a ruling is made that, like, what if a judge tells you right now, go kill somebody? I order you to. Oh, you're gonna go against my ruling? It's a coup. It's a coup. They're ignoring the judge's rules. That's not how our system works. All a judge exists for, all these judges exist for, is to look at the law that is already on the books, that are put on the books by the legislative branch. The legislative branch puts stuff into order. Then the judicial branch checks the actions that the executive branch, the executive branch goes and acts out the laws. In the judicial branch, they check the actions of the executive branch that are enacting those laws, and they look at the laws and they see do they match. That's all they do. They don't decree new laws. They don't tell you what to do. They're not the ones giving orders, saying do this, do that, do this, do that. That's not how our system works. And these judges are just acting like kings, where they're acting as both the legislative branch and the executive branch.
I think the rulings will be overturned, yeah.
Let me ask you about one man and one court order. Kilmer Abrego Garcia. He's the Salvadoran man who crossed into this country illegally, but who is under a protective order that he not be sent back to El Salvador.
No, he's not. As far as I'm aware, he's under a protective order not to be sent to Guatemala.
Your government sent him back to El Salvador and acknowledged in court that was a mistake. And now the Supreme Court has upheld an order that you must return him facilitate his return to the United States. What are you doing to comply?
Well, the lawyer...
We have no authority to actually do anything. Like, facilitate the return means nothing. The court... So in this situation, the court order... he was not to be returned to Guatemala, as far as I'm aware. But if it is El Salvador, the thing is, the situation, the original order, which was from a few years ago, not to send him back or to this specific location, the reason behind it was because El Salvador and the surrounding countries were ruled by these gangs, and especially El Salvador. But now, El Salvador, all the gangs are in prison. The whole country it went from the murder capital of the world to now one of the safest countries in the world. And the reason, the order not to send him there
was because it was a very violent place, that one of these other gangs is probably going to kill him if he goes back, because he's a gang member. Because he's a gang member, and the other gang members will kill him if he goes back. A different gang will kill him. But the thing is, those gangs are now in prison.
That said it was a mistake, was here a long time, was not appointed by us, should not have said that, and just so you understand, the person that you're talking about, you're making this person sound, this is a MS-13 gang member, a tough cookie, been in...
And he's an El Salvadoran citizen in his home country, paying for the crimes that he committed. We have no say. We don't have say over the world to just be like, your citizens, take your citizens and give them to us. It's ridiculous.
Lots of skirmishes, beat the hell out of his wife, and the wife was petrified to even talk about him, okay? This is not an innocent, wonderful gentleman from Maryland.
I'm not saying he's a good guy. It's about the rule of law. The order from the Supreme Court stands, sir.
He came into our country illegally.
You could get him back. There's a phone on this desk.
I could.
You could pick it up, and with all the power of the presidency, you could call up the president of El Salvador and say, send him back right now.
And if he were the gentleman...
Why would you want... Why? Why are these people so viciously intent on defending the worst people? They won't defend innocent people that are hurt and harmed and suffering, the actual people that we need to be helping right now. Instead, they're defending gang members. He was a Chicao, bro. He was an entry-level member of MS-13, one of the most violent, murderous group in the world. One of the worst gangs in the world. And this position, it is said that for him to become a full-fledged member, to go from the Chicao rank to up, is he would have to kill somebody. And him being deported saved an American's life.
That you say he is, I would do that.
They have no care for the rule of law. This guy has no care for the rule of law, because all he cares about is the bureaucracy. He doesn't care. Laws exist to help the people. They exist to help people, to help society, to ensure safety. And if the laws are causing harm, it doesn't matter. All he cares about is the bureaucracy of things rather than what is good.
I'm not the one making this decision. We have lawyers that don't want to do this.
The buck stops in this office.
No. I follow the law. You want me to follow the law? If I were the president that just wanted to do anything, I'd probably keep him right where he is.
Supreme Court says what the law is.
Listen.
The Supreme Court... that's dangerous, bro. You're advocating for an oligarchy, bro. You're advocating for an oligarchy. The Supreme Court isn't this gaggle, this cult group of people that can just determine everything. They interpret the laws, but that doesn't mean they're kings.
I was elected to take care of a problem. It was a unforced error that was made by a very incompetent man, a man that turned out to be incompetent, that you always said was wonderful, a great genius, right? And now you find out, all of the media now, they're saying what a mistake they made. A man who was grossly incompetent allowed us to have open borders where millions of people flowed in. I campaigned on that issue. I wouldn't say it was my #1 issue, but it was pretty close.
Right up there.
I campaigned on that issue. I've done an amazing job. I have closed borders. He said you couldn't do it. You wouldn't be able to do it. It would never happen. Well, it happened, and it happened very quickly. Wait a minute.
Oh, yeah.
When we have criminals, murderers, criminals in this country,
almost
we have to get them out, and
immediately.
we're doing it. And you'll pick out one man, but even the man that you picked out, he said he wasn't a member of a gang, and then they looked, and on his knuckles, he had MS-13. Well, wait a minute. He had MS-13 on his knuckles tattooed.
He had some tattoos that are interpreted that way. But let's move on.
Wait a minute.
Oh yeah, the wife that was beaten by him had posted pictures of their when they were together, where he's hugging her, and his fist is in front of the camera, and she covered his fist with a heart, hiding the gang tattoos.
Hey, Terry.
He did not have the
do that.
letter MS13.
It says M.
Of course, they don't put MS-13. Gang symbols are more complicated than that. They use symbols to represent things. But the thing is, he has the gang tattoos. He had the clothes. When he was arrested, he was wearing MS-13 gang clothes. And he was how he was arrested was other MS-13 gang members were all arrested together. And he was with them, wearing their clothes, wearing their gang tattoos, and the other gang members were like, "Yeah, this is our Chiqueo, our entry-level dude."
MS-13.
That was Photoshop. So let me.
That was Photoshop, Terry. You can't
had-
do that. Hey, they're giving you the big break of a lifetime. You know, you're doing the interview. I picked you because, frankly, I never heard of you, but that's okay.
Yeah, I've
I
never
picked
heard
you,
of this guy
Terry.
either.
But you're not being very nice.
His career's over.
He had MS-13 tattooed.
We'll agree to disagree. I want to
Terry,
move on to something else.
Terry, do you want me to show you the picture?
I saw the picture. We'll
And you think
agree
it's
to disagree.
Photoshop? Well,
Here we go.
Don't Photoshop it. Go look at his hand. He had
Fair enough.
MS-13.
He did have tattoos that can be interpreted that way. I'm not an expert on them. I want to turn to Ukraine.
No, no.
sir.
Yeah,
I wanna
so
get-
why are
no.
you so adamant?
No.
If you're not an expert, why are you so adamant? Why bring it up? Like, what's the point? Like, you'll defend a point, but then when you no longer have grounds to defend it, you'll...
He had MS as clear as you can be, not interpreted. This is why people no longer believe the news, because
when
it's
he was
fake
photographed
news.
in El Salvador, they aren't there. But let's just go on. They aren't there when he's in El Salvador.
They
Take
weren't
a look
there,
at the
but they're
photograph.
there now, right?
No,
but they're there
in
now.
your picture.
Terry,
Ukraine, sir.
he's got MS-13 on his knuckles.
This guy is a
Okay?
disgrace.
We'll take a look.
It's you do
We'll take
such
a
a
look.
disservice.
We'll take a look at
Why
that,
don't you
sir.
just say, yes, he does.
This guy is
go
a
on to something
disgrace.
else.
It's contested. Ukraine.
Coming up, the Russia-Ukraine war.
Don't
You
forget,
think he wants
this
peace?
is a
You think Vladimir Putin...
President Trump.
I want to turn. I was just in Rome, and to that moving photograph of you and President Zelensky sitting in St. Peter's Basilica talking peace. It went around the world.
Sure.
Take us into that moment.
Well, look, the Ukraine is a very serious, very tough situation. And this is Biden's war. This is not my war.
It
but
would
I
have
want to see
never
if I can solve
happened
it,
if I
because
was president.
Probably close to 5,000 young soldiers a week are being killed,
Sleepy,
Russian and Ukrainian.
slimy Joe
We
Biden.
also spend a tremendous amount of money in Ukraine. And Europe should be spending much more than us. They're not. They're spending much less. It's been badly handled by the Biden administration. It's been badly handled all the way around, all the way around.
That moment.
The moment was a moment of solace, in a sense, because tremendous numbers of people are dying. A lot of his people are dying. They're being killed. And I feel very badly about it. I feel very badly about it. That's a war that would have never happened if I were president. And it didn't happen for 4 years. It was never even a thought of it happening.
It does feel like something's happening after that meeting with Zelensky in St. Peter's. You posted this on social media. There was no reason for Putin to be shooting missiles into civilian areas and cities and towns over the last few days. It makes me think that maybe...
Well, that was part of my post, but you're right. That was a part of a post.
And it says, it makes me think that maybe he doesn't want to stop the war. He's just tapping me along.
Yeah, that's possible. Sure.
He might be...
He could be tapping me along a little bit. I would say that he would like to stop the war. I think that if it weren't for me, I think he'd want to take over the whole country, personally. I always felt. So when I left, there wasn't even a chance that this would happen. When Biden got involved, I won't say whether or not he handled it.
When Biden got involved, Biden gave a speech where, in his speech, before Russia had even started this whole thing, Biden gave a speech where he said that if Russia made a small incursion into Ukraine, it would be okay, and America would not respond. His words, small incursion.
Properly, but obviously it wasn't good because the war started. Putin went in, the war started. I believe that Putin wanted to get all of Ukraine once he went in. And I think part of the reason he went in, he saw what happened in Afghanistan, how incompetently Milley and all these guys handled that. It was one of the greatest embarrassments of our lifetimes, but maybe in the history of our country. Okay, so Putin went in. I think Putin wanted all of Ukraine. Right. I think if I didn't win the election, he would have gotten all of Ukraine. I think he would have taken all of Ukraine. I think his first choice, Never with me. He would have never gone in. With this group of losers, he went in, he saw what happened in Afghanistan. He said, wow, this is my chance. Because it was always the apple of his eye. I talked to him. Ukraine was the apple of his eye. I think he wanted the whole country.
You said for months
because of me, I do believe
bingo card.
that he's willing to stop the fighting. Don't
you
forget,
think he wants
this
peace?
is a,
You think Vladimir Putin wants peace?
I think he does, yes. I think
Still.
he does.
He doesn't
I think-
want World War III. That's pretty evident. Like if he didn't care about World War III, this war would have been over long ago. If he didn't care if World War III happened or not, this war would have been long since over. He doesn't want World War III, but will defend his country. Will defend his interests. I don't. He's a bad dude.
Even with the raining missiles
I
on.
think he really, his dream was to take over the whole country. I think because of me, he's not going to do that.
Do you trust him?
I think.
Do you trust him?
I don't trust you. I don't trust a lot of people. I don't trust you. Look at you. You come in all shooting for bear. You're so happy to do the interview.
I am
and then
happy.
you start hitting me with fake questions. You start telling me that a guy whose hand is covered with a tattoo doesn't have the tattoo. You know. I mean, you're being dishonest.
No, I'm not.
Let me
No,
just-
I'm not.
do I
This
trust-
guy
I
is
don't
a
trust lot of
disgrace.
people. But I do think this. I think that he, let's say he respects me, and I believe because of me, he's not going to take over the whole. But his decision,
never
his
heard of
choice
him
would be
before.
to take over all of
I was
Ukraine.
like, who's this
It's a war that never should have
hairy
happened.
nobody?
It did happen because of incompetent people.
Last question on this.
But it never should have happened.
If there's no peace deal, will the U.S. cut off military aid to
I
Ukraine?
don't want to tell you that. I'm not going to tell you whether
That's
or
right.
not I
That's
would
so.
or not. I want to
These media people, they're just. He's not gonna tell you that. That's the every single time there's some interview, they ask some question that will reveal hypersensitive information or destroy any ability to have a diplomatic situation. Like, it's just like he can't show his hand to you because showing his hand to you shows his hand to the enemy. Like, these people are so stupid.
believe that is a big fat secret because I don't want to ruin a negotiation. But
I'd be worried
I will
if I
tell
were
You can't negotiate if you expose your upper and bottom limits and you expose your plans and all that to the media. It's
I
like,
was not happy when I saw Putin shooting missiles into
yeah, Obama did that a few times, and it cost him greatly overseas.
a few towns and cities, and that was not something that I liked seeing, and I thought it was inappropriate. But I think the whole war is inappropriate.
Okay.
Again, it's a war that shouldn't have happened. This is a war that if the election weren't rigged, and it was totally rigged, the 2020 election, if it weren't rigged, you wouldn't have that. You wouldn't have had the embarrassment of Afghanistan. You wouldn't have October 7th with Israel. You wouldn't have had any of the problems that you have right now.
I want to ask one
And you
question.
wouldn't have had
The bingo card. It's the gift that doesn't stop giving.
inflation either.
All right, I want to ask one question about Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. There's a lot of turmoil at the Pentagon right now. There's the signal chat with his wife on it where he's discussing that attack in Yemen. There's another signal chat discussing the attack on Yemen. There's a reporter accidentally involved. You said the other day that you had a talk with the secretary. Did you take him to the woodshed?
I had a talk with him, and whatever I said, I probably wouldn't be inclined to tell you. But we had a good talk. He's a talented guy. He's young, he's smart, highly educated, and I think he's going to be a very good defense, hopefully a great defense secretary, but he'll be a very good defense secretary.
You have
Maybe
100% confidence in
I don't
Pete
have
Hegseth.
100% confidence in anything. Okay, anything. Do I have 100%? It's a stupid question. Look,
It's a pretty important
I
position.
have no. You don't have 100%. Only a liar would say I have 100% confidence. I don't have 100% confidence that we're going to finish this interview.
We will.
Such a manipulative.
Let's go.
This guy's so. What is this guy's deal? It's such a manipulative statement.
Coming up, President Trump
Important. But the cuts have had some serious consequences. There have been cuts to foreign aid programs.
Certainty, the fog of war and uncertainty has been the bane of all leaders of all time. It's been the one thing that every leader struggles with, that if only I could just be certain. Oh, all the uncertainty, if this, if that, if this, if that. It's the one of the number one problems every leader throughout all of history struggles with. uncertainty, because 1 minute you can never predict anything, because the wildest of stuff happens.
That save lives and keep people alive overseas. There's been research at the National Institutes of Health on cancer, on Alzheimer's, that has had to be stopped. And the question I think people have is, did Doge go too far, too fast, too recklessly?
No, I think Doge has been, look, saved $150 billion. We saved, that's a lot of money. There's also a lot of things right now under investigation, which is going to increase that amount by a lot. That's a tremendous amount of money. There are some things where, when I heard about them, I put them back, as you know. There are things that I'm considering right now putting back, but overall we've saved hundreds of billions of dollars.
Well, the original promise was $2 trillion, went to $1 trillion, now to $150 billion. And heading south.
The thing is, like, getting rid of these, so many these different programs, getting rid of these wasteful, pointless, fraudulent stuff. And sure, there's going to be some things that get cut out that were good. But we could just add them back. And they whine and complain, oh, he's shooting from the hip. But we could just add them back, bro. It's not a problem.
Going to be, because we have things that are at a very high level. It's a
manufactured problem to fearmonger, to keep people terrified.
We found a lot of fraud. There was a lot of fraudulent things were taking place.
The sky is
we ended that, and those people are going to be suffering because of it.
A legal note, fraud is a crime. There have been no referrals to the Justice Department on any.
Well, you don't know that, do you? How do you know that?
Have there been referrals to the? Are there criminal
How
referrals?
would you know that there were no referrals? I think there were referrals.
They generally are. There's been no investigation from the Justice Department.
How do you know that?
I'm asking you, sir.
No, you're not asking me. You made a statement. You're not
now I'm asking you.
That was a statement that you made. There have been.
I'm asking you.
Have there been? Yes, there have.
So there have been referrals for fraud from the work of the government.
Take a look at some of these things that took place. Billions of dollars we give it to people for no reason.
These people would be so much more effective if they just had an ounce of humility. But they're all bought out by they're all a part of the oligarchy. They're all slaves to the system. They'll never have a single waking individual thought of their own their entire life, lest they get destroyed.
Whatsoever.
Okay.
Of course they have that.
I want to bring up what is truly to a lot of people, one of the biggest achievements of your first term. That is Operation Warp Speed. You got that COVID vaccine up and going and distributed. A lot of people took it, and a lot of people that feel their lives have been saved by it. Now we have this measles outbreak, biggest in a decade in Texas, and it's because people aren't getting their children vaccinated. Do you recommend to parents that they get their children vaccinated for measles?
Well, I recommend the governors to make the decisions. You have a very talented governor of Texas, and he's making decisions, and those decisions are going to be made rapidly.
Yeah, it is
this
a
is
problem.
a very much different thing than COVID in terms of...
That's one of the greatest... It's one of the greatest problems that COVID brought upon us is now the permanent doubts in the back of everyone's minds. Are they lying to us again? Are they lying to us again? Is this real? Is this propaganda? Is there some narrative? Is there something behind the scenes that they have, that there's a goal for? Because they lied to us the entire time throughout. They just gaslit us the entire time during COVID and forced all this insane nonsense on our society. And so, of course, people are going to start doubting everything, and that's the consequences. That is the consequences of the left's actions. When you propagandize to people and they start to wake up and see that all of your speech has only ever been propaganda, they're now going to start doubting everything they see. And why should people have put trust in something that has put their life at risk in the past against their knowledge? Like, I would love to be able to I want to be able to have faith in science, to be able to have faith in the scientists, in the system, in the government. I would love if everything, but for that to be the case, we have to actually be scientific. We can't have politics determining what is good and what is bad, because that's not science.
Rapidity and speed and other things. Measles have been with us a long time, and I'm not saying good, bad, or indifferent. I'm just saying that the governors are making the decision. It's a federalist decision.
The president is our leader in so many ways, and your voice counts so much, and you can't tell moms and dads, it's a good thing
sure,
to get a measles vaccine.
Do I recommend it?
Yes,
I do. I recommend it, yeah.
Got it. That
do
was
I
my
mandate
question.
it? No.
No, I didn't
But I
ask.
do recommend it, yes.
Good. Do you think you're...
And I have recommended it.
Do you think the Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who has a history of, at the very least, vaccine skepticism, do you think Kennedy recommends...
It's such a manipulative thing. Of course, being skeptical of the COVID vaccine, they said it was safe and effective. It wasn't safe or effective. People everyone that I know that got the vaccine got COVID. It didn't do anything. And all it did was put their lives at risk, because a lot of those people developed weird health problems, heart issues, all kinds of different stuff. There's so many people dying of heart attacks, not from COVID, but from the vaccine, bro.
the measles vaccine?
And I'm not an anti-vax person. I'm anti strange chemicals that haven't been tested. The COVID, I am all for a vaccine that's been properly vetted and tested, but the COVID vaccine wasn't. It wasn't tested. It was shoved out the door without any safety protocols or any of that. None of it. And they kept propagandizing to us that it was safe and effective, and that's a dangerous lie, because they were just lying to you, because it wasn't tested if it was safe or effective. They were just saying it was so that you would take it.
He did. He recommended it. Yeah, he did.
You're satisfied with his
he
response?
recommended that they go out.
And the thing is, we need the point of what RFK Jr. is doing right now is he's bringing the system back to the way it should be. A trustworthy system that actually does the science, that isn't politically motivated. And we need to be skeptical. We need to be skeptical. You put a weird chemical in your body, you need to be skeptical. You can't just be mindlessly faithful to these things, because that's how you die, bro.